So guys, you know the story with this Giants pass rush. Last year, everybody was hyped about Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeaux, but the middle just never showed up. Quarterbacks kept stepping right up in the pocket because there was no pressure coming from inside. And a lot of that was on Shane Bowen, honestly. He never put the players in the right spots. Well, now they brought in Dennard Wilson to run this defense, and he's moving things to a 3-4 front. And with that shift, there's one guy already sitting on this roster, a guy who, honestly, after last year, a lot of fans straight up labeled a bust and were ready to give up on. But I think he just landed in the perfect spot for him. And once I show you where he's playing now and what that does for the whole defense, I think you're going to look at him completely different. So, stick around. I'm breaking it all down. What's up, Big Blue? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Giants. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, let me get into it. This guy I'm talking about is Chauncey Golston, and man, if you go back and look at last offseason, everybody was talking him up. Giants gave him a 3-year, $18 million deal, and the thought process was this pass rush is going to be nasty with him lined up next to Abdul Carter and Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeaux. People were legit calling him one of the most underrated signings of the offseason. And then the season happens, and I mean, it just didn't click. Now, yeah, injuries were part of it. I'm not going to pretend they weren't, but honestly, the bigger issue for me was just how he was being used. Look, if you go back and look at what Chauncey Golston was doing with the Cowboys before he got here, this dude was a legit problem for offensive lines. 5.5 sacks, 56 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 8 quarterback hits, even picked off a pass, started 13 games. That's not some guy who forgot how to play football overnight. That's a guy who got put in a system that just didn't fit what he does best. And that's really where I put a lot of this on Shane Bowen. I mean, the guy just had a habit of putting players in spots that didn't make sense for their skill set. You look at Chauncey Golston, he's 6'5", 277, and even coming out of college scouts were saying his rush off the edge was kind of ordinary. Nothing special, but he flashes when he's rushing from the interior, slipping into gaps, using that length and power to get after guys from inside. And instead, what do the Giants do? They try to play him as a true edge guy in a 4-3. It just never made sense to me, honestly. But here's the thing that's got me excited now, and this is why I think this year is totally different. They brought in Dennard Wilson to run this defense, and instead of sticking with that 4-3 that never fit half our guys, he's shifting this whole front to a 3-4. And when I think about Chauncey Golston in that scheme, I mean, it's night and day. Now, he's not being asked to be some speed rusher off the edge. Now, he can play that 3-4 defensive end spot where his size and power actually become a weapon instead of a liability. And it's not just him, right? Because you look at Darius Alexander too, same kind of deal. Guy was probably a little too big to be a true 4-3 end and maybe a tad undersized to be a true nose type, but in this 3-4, both of these guys have a real home now. You put DJ Reader in that nose spot in the middle, and then you rotate Darius Alexander, Shelby Harris, Chauncey Golston around him, and honestly, I think that's going to be one of the more versatile lines we've had in a while. I wouldn't even be shocked if we see Kayvon Thibodeaux get some reps down on the line in certain packages too, just so they can find ways to get Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeaux all out there together at the same time. And I think that versatility is the real story here, because last year our run defense really struggled, and a lot of people want to put that all on Dexter Lawrence, but honestly I think that's a little unfair. Dexter Lawrence has never really been an elite run stopper by trade. What he does is he's just such a massive presence that he eats up 2 blockers by himself, and then the whole scheme depends on the linebackers flying downhill and cleaning things up behind him. That's just always been his game. He's a disruptive interior pass rusher first, and everything else was supposed to be built around him, not on him. But we just didn't have that linebacker support behind him last year, so once teams figured out they could handle him with a double team and nobody was coming to finish the play, the run defense fell apart completely. This year, though, I actually like what we've got up front for stopping the run. DJ Reader graded out pretty solid there, 36th out of 134 interior linemen in run defense last year, and Shelby Harris was actually even better, 28th out of 134. Both of those marks were better than what Dexter Lawrence put up. So, I mean, that tells you something right there. We might actually have better run support up front this year, even without expecting Dexter Lawrence to be that guy. Now, Chauncey Golston, I don't think you're bringing him in expecting him to be some dominant run stuffer. That's just not really his game. But where I think he really helps is on passing downs. Because Shelby Harris, for as good as he was against the run, took a real step back rushing the passer last year, ranked all the way down at 75th. So what I'd love to see is, third down comes around, you pull Shelby Harris, you bring in Chauncey Golston, and now all of a sudden you've got a rotation where you're getting the best of both worlds. Solid run defense on early downs, and then a burst of interior pressure when you need it most. And honestly, that interior pressure piece, that's the part that's got me the most fired up, because think about how many times last year we watched Abdul Carter or Brian Burns win off the edge. Get right there to the quarterback, and the guy just steps up in the pocket because there's nothing coming from the middle. That's the whole problem right there. But now you add Arvell Reese rushing from that inside linebacker spot mixed in with Chauncey Golston and Darius Alexander coming off that 3-4 end position. I really think our interior pressure is going to be a completely different animal this year. And that matters so much because once you start getting pressure up the gut too, now the quarterback can't step up anymore. Now he's actually getting pushed right into Abdul Carter or Brian Burns. That's when sacks start piling up in a hurry. And look, I know Dexter Lawrence not being the same guy is a concern for some of you, but I went and looked at his numbers, and it's kind of alarming, honestly. Back in 2023, his last full healthy season, he finished third in the entire league in pass rush win rate, 19%, even while seeing double teams 71% of the time. Only guys ahead of him were Aaron Donald and Chris Jones. That's elite company. But last year, same amount of double teams, and his win rate dropped all the way to 8%. That's a massive fall off. So when I look at that, combined with everything I just laid out with Chauncey Golston, Darius Alexander, Arvell Reese, I actually think this defense replaces that interior pressure and then some. Now here's another layer to this whole thing that I think people aren't talking about enough. Look at how tight this Giants cap situation is right now, and how many guys on this roster are basically playing for their next contract. Chauncey Golston is one of them. If he doesn't go out there and get you 5-6 sacks this year, that might be it for him getting paid at this level again. And he's not alone. You got Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland, Darius Slayton, Drew Phillips, Deontay Banks, Greg Newsome. All these guys got no guaranteed money after this season. And I know some of you have been hard on a guy like Darius Slayton. I mean, I get it. I've seen the comments, people asking why he's even still on the roster. But here's the thing. People forget, if you cut him, you don't save $1 of cap space. So at that point, you might as well just keep him around for the depth, especially at a receiver room that needs bodies. Even on offense, you got Darnell Mooney, Calvin Austin, Darius Slayton in that same boat. No guaranteed money left. So when you combine that motivation with John Harbaugh coming in and actually holding guys accountable in a way that maybe wasn't happening before, I mean, I think you're going to see a team that's playing with a real edge this year. Guys who know this might be their last shot to prove they belong in this league. And it's not just me saying all this either, because Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show recently and basically said if Jackson Dart, Cam Skattebo, and Malik Neighbors stay healthy, this is a playoff team. And I noticed something about that. He only brought up health for the offensive guys because I think everybody already assumes this defense, with Shane Bowen out of the picture, is going to be a problem for people. Honestly, I'd be shocked if this isn't a top 5 defense this year, and I think they're going to be right up there competing for the league lead in sacks. All right, last little thing before I wrap up, because I got to bring up this Cam Skattebo backflip thing everybody's been talking about. John Harbaugh actually addressed it, and honestly, I was fine with how he handled it. He basically said, look, that's just who Cam Skattebo is. He's a high-energy guy, and if you want that energy on the field, you kind of have to accept it off the field too. But then he added, and this cracked me up, he was basically like, at least stick the landing next time, so it was kind of him poking fun at the situation instead of coming down hard on the guy. I do think privately he probably tells him, hey, know your surface before you try that again, because I guess this one happened on a stage with a rug or something, and that's a different story than doing it on grass after a touchdown. So look, that's where I'm at with all this. This defense went through a rough stretch last year, but between the scheme change, the motivation on this roster, and guys like Chauncey Golston finally getting put in a spot that fits him, I think this whole unit looks completely different in 2026. Drop your prediction on Chauncey Golston down below. You think he gets back to that 5-6 sack form? Let me know, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe on your way out.